welcome to Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki, where inspiration meets action. This is your spot to grow, level up, and lead with fresh ideas. From sales to service, from frontline teams to executives, we're dropping weekly knowledge and insight to keep your store sharp, relevant, and profitable. Let's get into it. Well, welcome back, everybody. I can't wait for you to meet my next guest. Her name is Emma Cole, and she is somebody that I worked with for many years. I saw her do some really cool stuff, and I couldn't wait to have her come on because I feel like it is very infrequent that we see a heavy hitter service BDC leader, and that is what Emma Cole is. So one of the things that I loved about her, and I can't wait for her to unpack this for us because, so listen, she was like in sales BDC. Okay. And then she ends up at this dealership, one of the largest dealerships in the country. Okay. And this is like a place that can literally achieve 160 appointments a day out of the service department through a BDC. She had no idea what to do, where to start, and she figured the whole friggin' thing out. And I have to say, is one of the most successful departments I've come across, and I got to be a part of it. I got to help train these guys. I got to help build this team with her, but she was the guts of it. She's the one that did it. And, listen, there's a lot of highs and lows when you're trying to find success. And there's a lot of personality conflicts. There's a lot of hiring issues. There's a lot of trying to get a team motivated, especially when they're doing a really hard job, you know, call after call after call after call after rejection. So anyways, welcome, Emma.
Hi, Jen. Thank you. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah. Oh, I'm great now that you're here because
Awesome.
I love to hear from you. And I just, you've been through a lot. How did you even get started in service BDC? How did this job even get on your radar?
I went from sales BDC to wanting to explore my options. So then I went to sales, and I figured that was just a little too much running around for me. Um,
Okay.
but I wanted to go somewhere else, and I wanted to evolve in the business. So, I just looked for something a little bit more similar to sales BDC,
Mhm.
and I seen a lot of potential with service. So I just dived right into it.
Okay. So how do you look at the business when you first jump in? You don't even have any team members, you're just been given a location. What are the first steps that you start taking to get the core foundation put together? Like how do you start this? Cuz listen, a lot of times people look at service BDC and they don't see it in the way that I see you. And I can't wait for this audience to hear what type of leads you pursued. Because a lot of times people think that a service BDC is taking inbound sales calls and setting appointments for the dealerships and possibly handling missed appointments, and that is it.
Oh no, there's a lot more to it. Well, when I started, I just obviously I started from down up. No, not really not knowing where to go or where to start. But in reality, no matter what department you're in, you can always fall back to your previous customers and filter through there. So
Mm.
I definitely decided to look in our previous customers, and I seen that there was just a lot of customers in recalls, and I just started digging and just digging and digging, and the more customers I found, the more I was able to pretty much educate myself as well in the service department, because um it's similar to it's similar to sales, but also it's a little tricky as well. But just from there, I started with the recalls, and I just started diving into be backs and decline services, and it was kind of like a domino effect, honestly.
So you start making these calls. It's just you.
Yes.
Okay. And this is a service department. You might even paint the picture for us. That's got, let's say 20 advisors, right?
Yes.
Okay. And
Yes.
maybe not
Very.
when you started, but
Yeah, no, when I started it had a little less than that, but the volume was it was very high at that dealership, and they had a lot to offer. They just, needed someone to pretty much make a process and get the ball rolling. And
Mm.
that's pretty much what I did. I walked around, I spoke to the advisors, I got to know the advisors, picked their brain a little bit more as well. Talking to the advisors, letting them know what type of people they see on a regular base, just so I can pretty much build a process and see what type of customers I really should be reaching out to. So the
Okay.
advisors, between BDC and the advisors, if they definitely help each other if you have a team process going on.
Okay, so you're talking to the advisors, and they're probably telling you, "I can't take inbound calls; it's disrupting my day." Status updates is another key issue, and you're probably saying to yourself, "Okay, well, we could handle that. Okay, I could build a team around that." I'm
Mm-hmm.
guessing you start in conversation with them. I can only imagine what the service advisors are griping about, but those would be the two first starters. And
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they're calling declined work a lot of times. I don't think they're calling proactively to schedule maintenance. And we all know that that's how it's going to fuel every one of their careers.
Yes.
That's, yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
this stuff starts coming out, and what do you do?
I just pretty much just start building a process and figuring out what type of customers that we're gonna be reaching out to.
Okay.
Again, they let me know. Also with special order parts, that also became a process for BDC as well.
Mhm.
Wherever we were able to pick up the ball where the advisor didn't have time, or was able to reach out to a customer, we definitely did. Once a customer came in, we already knew a good 3 to 6 months after that they're going to need an appointment. So that also helped us with a 3-month process, um, going off of the appointments that were coming in at that point in time, since we didn't have anything going.
Okay. Wait a second. So, okay. So you're saying
Mm,
that you're just building this thing up, and the
mm,
customers are coming in for service, and you're like, you know what? Let's call them after their appointment, and let's get them
yes,
on the calendar in 3 months for the next. Okay, girl, that's a
correct.
very good idea.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we
So this is
started to
this is
pretty
how you start building.
our
Go on.
customers. And yeah, and also customer service. A lot of nowadays everything is appointment based. Customers really like that. Usually, even when you go to the doctor's office, they're setting up your next appointment before you walk out that door. So we pretty much picked up that
Right.
process as well. We might as well reach out to these customers. You're gonna be doing 6 months. When is your day off? Because some of them don't even, oh, 6 months from now, don't worry about it. Well, what is your day
Right.
off? Do you have a regular day off? So we tried to just start going from there. And after a while, customers just got used to the process and setting the appointments, calling in,
Yeah.
and then we were able to pretty much pick up our regulars as well, and also reaching out to customers that aren't even coming to us anymore.
Okay, so now you find more, you uncover more opportunities. Customers that haven't visited in 6 months, 3 months, 12 months, get them back on the schedule, right? That's what you're saying?
Yes, pretty much. That all became a process of ours. And then getting a team together, obviously, because we could produce all these customers, but we also need a
Yeah,
pretty good team
manpower.
to pretty much, sail the ship. Which,
Yeah.
as much as our customers are important, our team is important, on follow up. So I give it to the team. I give it to the team, Jen.
Yeah, but you had to build the team. So how'd you build the team? So first, you've identified all of these opportunities. And by the way, you just listed off some great ones. And P.S., there's actually a hell of a lot more. We didn't talk about decline work. We didn't talk about first oil change. We didn't talk about upcoming scheduled needed maintenance. We didn't talk about, a lot of things. And so, of course, Emma, she's a hustler. You could tell it in her voice. She was digging to find every way to find an opportunity, because I imagine that pay plans start to depend on appointments. So you want as many opportunities to be able to attain as many appointments as possible. Now you found all these great branches to tackle. Now you got to find the right team members. So how do you find the right team? Because I got to tell you, you have had let me tell you, it is hard to work in a room of women. I'm not even profiling. I'm just saying it is. And I've worked in many rooms with a lot of women, but you guys, everyone has their ups and downs, but it's hard to work in a job where it's just high volume and it's high stress and it's like, demands, high demands because you have great leadership and they're winners and you want to win. So how do you find people that could actually make the cut in a situation like this?
I mean, I honestly, I look for very motivated people. You got to be highly motivated. I'm very passionate for my job. To me, started as a job and I made it into a career, and I kind of look for those type of representatives as well. Um, as long as there's passion and hustle there, and you also show them that there's an opportunity in front of them, then pretty much that's what I look for, that they would work off of that and really want to make a difference in their income, because working for a Service BDC would really make a change for you. The sky is the limit in reality.
Mm.
So I look for those hustlers. I definitely do.
Okay.
I
Okay.
try to
So
be the
you start
best
bringing
cheerleader as possible.
you well, what I love about you is that you know how to do the job, and actually you know how to do the job the very best out of everybody. I mean, you have a great team and you're teaching them to be as good, if not as better as you, but you are still able to teach, you're able to apply, you're able to execute, able to tag you in at any point in time, and you're gonna take it home. And so that I find important because I want to count on you. If you're my boss, I want to count on you that you can show me how to be successful. You could show me how to do better. You could show me new word tracks. You could step in and help me close this, if I needed to. And when it's in a demanding environment, you're not always gonna just jump off from the jump and crush it. It's like it takes time. So you want somebody
Hmm.
that will help nurture your success. Tell me about your expectations. So you get this great team, and you could tell me how many team members you have, but how do you start determining benchmarks? Where do these come from? How many appointments do you expect? Do you expect it by the hour? Do you expect it by the day? How do you look at goals and achieving them on a regular basis, and how do you keep that team motivated?
Well, I did go off of pretty much where they were previously before even having a BDC. And it also goes on the volume, how many advisors you have as well. Because at the end of the day, if we only have 7 advisors and we bombard our dealership, it's not gonna look really too good for us. So it also has to go, when it comes to appointments, we gotta be mindful with the shop in complete, which is how many advisors we have, how many technicians we have, and all that does play a part, because we can't, at the end of the day, bombard our shop and leave our customers unsatisfied with time framing. But once we knew that we were able to handle a certain amount, we just decided to just get more, so we would be able to pretty much get more appointments. The more advisors we ended up getting, the more technicians we were able to get even more appointments. It's gotten
I
to a
see.
point where we had to cap it because we couldn't get the workout as fast as possible. So those type of things kind of happen as
Mm,
well. But I always shot for, like at least 120 calls. We all can make 10 calls an hour through our shift. So I kind of measure things to be a little even, and to be doable for the rep, not to bombard them throughout the day as well. So I kind of like to divide everything. If there's 10 appointments set a day, halfway through the day, I need at least 60 calls, at least 80 appointments, and you need at least be 5 appointments set. And then once, if I don't see them there on that track, then, I kind of gotta be a cheerleader and bring in that motivation. But yeah, it's definitely, it's all starts with the calls, the text messages, and I do kind of prefer them to break it throughout the day. I feel like that leaves them to be a little bit more productive, if they break up their calls and their work throughout the day versus just working on one thing.
Oh, are you saying like lead types, like changing up the lead types, like every maybe couple hours? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, and even just like for an example, if I expected 120 calls from all my representatives at the
Okay.
end of their shift.
Okay.
Um, so I would let them know every hour to have 120 calls by the end of your shift. You should do about, say, 12 calls every hour.
Yeah.
Now, to be a little bit more productive, the first 2 hours work on recalls, the next 3 hours work on declined services,
Got
the
you.
next 2 hours work on uh,
Missed
um,
appointments.
first appointments or second
First
appointment,
appointments.
or missed appointments, just
Yeah.
so they're, working
You're
all
breaking it
our
up.
customers throughout the day and they're
Yeah.
not feeling bombarded.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I like the variety of that. I'm an advocate of that because I think we can get burned out on a list and you're trying to hammer the same list. And while you're in a routine, it actually starts to feel monotonous and boring because you're saying the
Yes.
same freaking thing over and over and over. And so when you're in a call center, it is kind of helpful to have a different call type. And some calls are easier than others. And it
Mm-hmm.
also some are more challenging than others. Declined, was when we started to introduce declines into it, you had a lot of pushback on that one because their goals were already set, their volume was already set, and then they started to notice that maybe the calls took a little bit more time, or at least there was a learning curve where the call did seem to be a little bit longer, and so then it started to impact volume and potential here. So when you inject something that's a new call list and there is pushback, how do you handle that? Whether right things to do, whether mistakes made, whether lessons learned, how did that work for you? Because decline is different than an inbound call, and if you're getting paid on appointments, I'm not going to do declines.
Yeah, the pushback there was definitely tough. But I always just try to sit here and tell them if they just take some time out of the day, because it's also a little overwhelming doing declines because it's so much of pushback. And just calling over 100 people a day can get exhausting, especially if you're calling 50 people and they're just all pushbacks.
Yeah.
So that could definitely burn you out. But
Mhm.
I try to motivate my team to at least, do five a day. The more you do, the better you would get. The more you do, the better you would get. And some of them ended up, just hammering it and just saying, you know what, I'm gonna be stressed for the next 3 days until I do figure this out. More power to you, just figure it out. But with declines, I was always ready to jump in. That was
Yeah.
my thing. I never left them on their own. I always kept my ear open. I always knew what they were talking about on the phone, who they were talking to. I always pulled up the information. Anytime I heard my rep, hitting a brick wall, I
Struggling.
would jump in quick. Hey, you need my help? You need me to save you? I'm definitely one of those, and I think that can definitely make your BDC successful, is being more
Without a
hands
doubt.
on and jumping in and helping them out, because that your rep feels a little bit more confident in their manager, their leader, and also they pick up. You're right in front of them, showing them action. This da, 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 da. They look at you like, wow, you just, yes, that's what we're gonna do. Learn that, figure it out. That's what you do.
Yeah. Well, there's
Um,
nothing like on the spot training like that. And I can assure you, there's a lot of really great lessons here that you've just dropped for our listeners because a lot of times we think we don't need to have a manager TO or manager listening, that these are, relatively easy calls, but it's not true, particularly on declined. You're going to have a lot of pushback. And sometimes, you just need a new word track or you just need somebody to step in and help you. And
mhm.
I always admired that about you. You're great at this job. And You can show people how to win. So let me ask you something about declines, because for me, declines is a significant lift that is necessary to keep an organization moving. When people decline, they oftentimes will defect to another shop because they think it's going to be cheaper or faster, and so they may never return to the dealership if we don't get them, back on board. And so I love the fact that you guys went after this, but I have to ask you, in your experience with declines, and I've toggled with this with other stores, do you think that it's a separate entity, as in like dedicated people should be just on that and it's a different pay plan? Or do you think that when you have, 7, 10 reps, that you can rotate it and they have to just know that that is part of the job? Maybe there's a pay difference that you found that maybe gets them more motivated. So can you give me some ins and outs and your recommendations on declined work and integrating that into the BDC?
I love that because that is definitely there's so much opportunity in decline service. There is. And to take that from your BDC team, it's kind of a little difficult in a way, but I do feel that if you have say like two decline service reps and that's all they work on day in day out, we would probably get a better uh,
Conversion.
yeah, we'll
Mhm.
definitely get a better result, my honest opinion, because we as BDC we do this every day in, day
Yeah.
out. We're on the phone, we're setting up appointments. We could do this with our eyes closed. So
Yeah.
just imagine having 2, 3 reps that could do decline service with their eyes closed.
Yeah.
That's amazing right there.
Agreed.
I
Got to
done
pay
came
them different?
across maybe 2 reps, 3 reps that they were just amazing, and
Machines.
I definitely think it should be a different pay plan. But
Yeah.
my honest opinion, my next go around, that is something that I might suggest to do. Have just decline service
Yep.
reps and
Yep.
have them doing that day in, day out, and I think that would work a lot much better.
Yeah, I do
Mhm.
too. I do too. Yeah, because and your service BDC is full of recalls and unused maintenance and complimentary maintenance and appointment confirmations and missed appointments and first oil change and customers who haven't visited and special order parts, and it's
Mhm.
just endless. And that is a different mix of that's a different type of phone call. And some people will say, well, those are easier calls to make than declines. So it starts to push the declines, which is our biggest opportunity to continue the relationship with customers to the curb. And so I agree. I think it's its own beast by itself. But let me ask you something. So in your experience in dealing with, the big set that I just gave you of opportunities versus declined, do you get more people on the phone with declines because they'd already been to the dealership? I'm just curious what your experience been with that, and for expectations. Are they more apt to answer the phone? Are they more apt to move forward on lower maintenance items? Do you have to have a discount? What's your best advice?
Um, See, now that's a little tricky. Because it all depends on the experiences that they're having.
Okay.
Because if your customer has a bad experience, they will not pick up the phone. And if they do pick up the phone, they're just gonna have you on that phone for 20 minutes and they're just gonna do nothing
Vent.
but complain and take
Yep.
you from the opportunities you need to be grabbing. So that is what kind of also drove the representatives away from the decline services, because it kind of it's sales. It's a way where we can pick up a sale, but then it's also kind of like a customer service line it can turn into.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's where it makes it a little bit difficult, especially if a rep is short on appointments, or at that moment in
Mm.
time they're doing declines and now the phone starts ringing and it's been slow
Uh-huh.
all day and this
Yeah.
person, so but I definitely think that it's similar but different and needs a different type of beast behind
Yeah.
the decline services, where they would be able to maneuver the customer a little bit more. Decline service rep needs to have more patience, but still need to have that hustle behind them.
Oh, for sure.
Hmm.
Was there other lead types that also needed different attention? In your opinion, do they need a different thought process, a different expectation for appointment goals? Was there another type, or do you feel like everything else kind of groups together?
Oh, well, the recalls could be a little bit
Taxing.
as easy as it sounds, but sometimes it could be a little difficult when the customer wants more information on on the recall and why they need to get the recall done. So with certain recalls, you have to be a little bit more educated on,
Yeah.
and you have to take your time. Because there are customers that want to know why they got to get it done and why is this happening,
And is it a
and
safety concern?
how
And
is
yeah,
it a safety concern? How long is it going to take? Is there a part? Do they have to come again?
right.
Why can't I order my part before
And they
getting
come
there?
in.
Yeah, so sometimes the recall can get a little tricky as well, as simple as oh, it's a free service, come on in, and we'll
Right.
give you a car wash too. So sometimes the recalls can get a little bit different and stare you into a different path and
Yeah.
with the appointment. But aside of that, I would think that everything else kind of falls into part. You need your next oil change, or you have a free oil change. Those are kind of simple appointments, and as long as they have a good um visit, those customers will come back.
Yeah. Okay, well,
Mhm.
let's get into some of the hard stuff. Let's get real. Okay. The hardest part of leading a service BDC, what is it?
Oh, I would like to honestly,
I'm sure it's hard to pick just one, but you've seen a lot of things, and I just wonder what would you say is the hardest part of leading a service BDC? I have an answer. I think I know what it is, but you tell me.
you sure I go first?
I think it's dealing with the outsiders. It's not your BDC team, but it's trying to navigate how to have a relationship with the advisors.
Yes, yes, yes. I was gonna
Yeah.
say that it's the outside. It's not necessarily the team itself and BDC and its process, but
Yeah.
it I am so big on one hand washes the other, and they both
Yes.
wash the face. So the face is the service department. You got your
Yep.
BDC and you got your advisors.
Got you.
But for some reason, there's always a miscommunication. um I mean, I don't know. I don't know exactly what it is, but that is definitely probably by far the hardest.
Yeah.
It's just getting everybody on the same page.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And I think in hindsight, uh, and I've done this with other stores where BDC shadows the service and the service providers shadow the BDC. And I like doing stuff like this because it helps everybody understand each other's roles. Because I think that's actually one of the biggest reasons for miscommunications is that it's just expectations, not knowing what they're under. So like when an advisor doesn't take, there's a status update, for example, they're coming in all the time. You're like, why can't you just update your customers? And you've got all the advisors on cameras, because you're in a different building, you're in a different location, so you can see them at their desk, and they're not picking up your call. And you got a customer who's on fire.
Mhm.
What is happening to my car? And you can't answer the question. You got to talk to the advisor. They want to talk to the advisor, and the advisor's sitting on the desk, and they didn't answer the phone. And you're just like frustrated because the customer is taking their frustration out on you. This is a small example. And it's easy to just be so mad at the advisor. And meanwhile, the advisor is sitting there like, well, I don't want to take the call because I don't know I don't know the status of the car. I haven't talked to the
Mhm.
technician. I've been wrapped up in heat. I've been wrapped up in a meeting. I've been wrapped up, and I need time to go figure out what to answer the question. And so they just ignore, and listen, this is again, small example, many issues out there. And so how do you bring them together? how do you bring them together so that they're not fighting against each other and that they're actually stay on the same team? Are you ever able to get there?
Honestly, I'm a tough cookie.
You don't say.
I'm a tough cookie. So I feel like if you at least as a service BDC manager, if you get involved, just I get involved. I'll jump on the phone. If they're saying, oh, they need an update, I'm calling the advisor, I'm texting the advisor.
You run
Oh,
a
I
group
don't have
chat.
an update. Well, tell the customer you don't have an update.
There you go.
Communicate with the customer. Communication is key. So I feel like after a while with me being on them so long that they already knew, like, okay, if I don't do this, Emma is gonna
Come
be
after me.
bothering us. So maybe if there's a little bit more motivation on that part.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that sucks that it has to be that way, but I feel like that was the only way I was able to get a little bit some type of balance, is being more on them like a
Mm.
boss.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. Okay. Yeah, and then listen, I mean, there's a lot of heat that comes off a very big service department, and in your case you walked into a situation where there was even old leadership, old ownership, even where customers hated the dealership, and it took years to get them to see that things were different. And so when you have a lot of haters, you have a lot of heat, and they're going to take it out on you, and you're trying to solve the problem. So then you have to come up with ways to navigate, how do we handle heat? What are some ways that you found to be successful to handle heat?
Well, with those customers, I feel like all managers need to be hands-on when it comes to those type of situations. So pretty much, when we came across a customer that had a bad experience and just refuses to come in, we kind of paint the picture that we're gonna roll this red carpet out for
Yeah.
you.
Yep.
Well, anything you need, you want, you got it. And one thing that I always do with the customers, if they're speaking to one of my agents, I would take over. If I knew that they were having an issue, I would definitely jump in and just let them know and secure them. This is my name. This is my title. This is my direct contact information. I'm going to text you. You have any issues, you call me directly. If you're waiting too long, you call me and ask for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So when I did that, it
Yeah.
kind of like reassured the customer, like, okay, what's your
Somebody's
name? What's
Yeah,
your
right.
this? Okay, if something happens, I'm gonna call you. Make sure you call me. And then once I'm done there, it's like, okay, hey, we have this customer coming in tomorrow morning, red carpet treatment. And then, all the managers are hands on and is aware that that customer is coming in.
Amazing.
And we have to kind of like,
Fight to get them
reroute.
back.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Mm.
So, and we set them up with like the best advisor.
Uh-huh.
Then we have the manager touchdown. So it's kind of like it all goes together. When they get on the phone and they don't want to come in, that's when, everybody has to come together and really, perform.
Yeah. Okay. So, I could talk to you for days about this stuff, but I am curious how, just this is off the rails question, but it just came to my mind. I was just thinking about coverage, and as dealerships, service departments now expand, they are now staying open later and later. So does that mean that our BDCs have to stay open later and later too? What do your schedules look like to have coverage? And then you're open on Sundays too? I mean, God, dealerships are open like 7 days a week. So,
Mhm.
how do you do this? Because in some dealerships, they're single point. They only have a couple BDC. They leave at 5. Almost every store I know, they leave at 5. And I think that's how could you? That's when we were gonna get the people on the phone.
Mhm.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on
Mhm.
scheduling? Have you made some mistakes? Well, you have some recommendations?
We've tried a couple of things. There were times where, we closed the shop on Sunday, but had a BDC rep there to still answer
Okay.
phone calls. And it would only be one representative. There were times where the shop was open and we had three representatives on a Sunday. So we did try a couple of different schedules when it comes to a Sunday. It did turn out to it would probably be best to at least have one rep for a
Yeah.
couple of hours picking
Yeah.
up the phone. Obviously starting our week off pretty good, grabbing those last minute appointments for the people that want to come in on Monday.
Monday.
And it's the weekend. Some people only have till that Sunday to wake up and set up their appointments. So we kind of figured having at least one rep on a Sunday, whether the shop is open or not. I
Yeah.
think that's good. Now, like you said, closing early at 5 o'clock when people are getting out of work, I don't think that's really such a good idea.
It's a terrible
Uh,
idea. It blows my
yeah,
mind. I'm like,
so
what?
we kind of noticed that as well. So the 8 to 5 that got changed real quick, and then it went to 7, and then it went to 9.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I bet you're
So
glad they
I feel
weren't
it's
open
just
24
like
hours.
I feel like when it comes to service, you just never know with your car, and just in general, nobody knows. You could jump in your car, it's working perfectly fine. You go to work, you get out of work, now your car isn't turning on.
Yeah.
The dealership isn't open. I can't get a tow. That could be pretty frustrating. And they have to wait until the next day, so I think hours, until about 9 o'clock is pretty an advantage
Yeah.
for the customers. It's good. It's convenient.
I think so too. And
Hmm.
I think at the end of the day, it's not always just about profitability, but it's about customer experience and making sure that we are truly taking care of people when they need you the
Hmm.
most. Okay, last question. Bis- Biggest mistakes that BDC agents make, and they do it often.
Mm.
It could be the way that they perceive their role. It could be the way that we all need some downtime. We love to scroll. Sometimes I find that people get distracted at work and then it impacts their numbers, but I don't want to give you an answer. I'm giving you some inspo. Can you think of like big mistakes that BDC agents make and they make it maybe frequently, something that you would flag and say, we got to avoid this?
Um, I mean, that one is pretty good. I'm not even gonna lie. The phone is a major distraction. Cause you get they go and you check your Instagram, then from your Instagram you jump to your
TikTok.
TikTok, then from your TikTok you jump from Snap, and then from Snap you jump from Facebook, and the next thing you know, a whole hour passed you by when you could have made
Exactly.
those 13 calls that I asked for.
Yeah.
um the phone is very a big distraction. Yes, I could sit here and say that may be one of the top
I think so.
mistakes is having that phone accessed at your right here and on your desk. At one point I did see that was becoming an issue, and I did let my reps know. If the phone becomes an issue, I'm gonna have to have you guys leave your phones in your desk.
Oh.
um so once you kind of do things like that, they kind of get a little like, oh no, not my phone, let me make sure I give her calls, and let me work, let me do what she wants to do, what she needs, and maybe I could look at my phone. So yeah, you know what, Jen, you got me thinking that phone is dangerous.
Oh, I know. It's a killer. You know what else is a killer? Just chatty, chatty, chatty. Especially when you have a great team that loves each other, and they do. They generally do gel with each other. They hang out after work, but they also got to bring all that stuff inside, and it's just yep, 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 yep. And then it's like we gotta get back to work.
Well, I had a team that they just all greatly loved each other. So there was definitely a lot of yapping, and there was times that I had to do that too. So I would say between the yapping and the phone could definitely be two of the top distractions, probably in any BDC,
Oh,
sales
everyone.
and
Yeah.
service.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I see it
Mhm.
all the time. Yeah. Well, I want you to know how much I appreciate you sharing your insights. I love your energy. I always think the world of you. You've done some big, big, very big things. I used to say it to you all the time. You have no idea what you're involved in. You are setting the foundation for being able to achieve whatever it is that you want to do. Because if you can crush what you have been able to do, you could do anything in the world.
Thank
I
you,
really mean it.
Jen.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jen. You know, it's always been a pleasure and it's always an honor to just sit here and even be on FaceTime with you. I love you, Jen.
Thank you so much. Well, as I said, I just think the world of you and I want the best for you. I think you're amazing. You've done some great things, bigger things that I've ever seen. And I've said it to you personally, one-on-one many times. You just have an amazing skill set. Yeah, you could do whatever you want to do. You don't back down easy. People, you know how to cheer squad. You know how to do the job. You can fight like hell to win. And that's a very difficult thing for a lot of people to do, is to get smacked repeatedly. When you're trying to deal with a very big situation, a lot of moving parts, a lot of different personalities, a lot of people, an extreme amount of pressure. You're leading one of the largest stores in the nation. And everybody's winning. So you can't be a loser when every department is winning at an insanely high level. But I've seen you knock out, 180 appointments a day. It's remarkable. So thank you. Thank you for all
Awesome.
the
Thank you,
intel, all the
Jen.
insights. Yes. All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye, Emma. Thanks everyone for listening to Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki. Don't forget, my weekly live classes are designed to keep your team fired up, skilled up, and focused on results. Subscribe right now at edealersolutions.com. See ya!